JobsWorth Season 1, Episode 1, Mum, Mud and Motivation. Welcome to episode 1 of JobsWorth. You may have guessed from the title that my guest for this maiden voyage into podcasting is none other than my mum. Yep, nepotism is rife in this first season. Whilst I was fairly confident I'd immediately regret having her on, this was actually one of my favourite conversations of the season. Anyone who is lucky enough to have their mum around knows that as you get older, opportunities to actually sit down and speak to your parents are pretty rare. So getting this podcast recorded actually felt really special. We talk about her journey to becoming self-employed, what it was like studying, working, and then setting up a new business as a single mum, her unrelenting determination to lobby local politicians for childcare support, and the response she received, and some surprising insight on BT's approach to flexible working in the 80s. You'll find out soon enough that my mum is a regular contributor to the podcast, and rightly so, because as well as being super inspiring, whether it's intentional or not, she's also bloody hilarious. So without further ado, let me introduce you to one of my biggest sources of inspiration, Lisa Hawker, aka Mummy. Mum, welcome to JobsWorth.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Throws you when I do that, doesn't it? Because you feel like I go into work mode and you don't know how to handle it.
No, it's good.
I think, just to be honest with everyone that might be listening to this, all four of them, and you probably on the back of this recording, we've tried to do this before, haven't we? So this is
we have.
This is take 2 of Mum's episode, because we tried to do it with my brother in the room last time, and I describe it as I did at the start of Luke's re-recorded episode, as well as it turned into, there was a little bit of bickering involved.
Well, I don't remember it like that, but it was a little bit talking over each other, wasn't it?
We were vying for mic space, weren't we?
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
Okay. Agree to disagree on that one. But we're here again. I mean, you've made the journey from Surrey, where you live near your favourite son, to come and talk to me. So the whole reason that I've invited you on is, number one, you have to say yes. And I was short of guests for the first season. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's
been pretty honest about that. So nepotism is rife on this first series, because pretty much everyone I know, bar a couple I know or are friends. Yeah. So I'm leveraging those relationships and playing on the guilt associated with that. And then the second reason is to talk about your journey of being self-employed.
Right.
Don't say you know that that's the reason.
No, I know. I'm just encouraging you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Your journey to becoming self-employed, what it was like to step away from traditional employment into being self-employed, and some of the challenges and trials that you faced along the way, in the hope that maybe it will inspire people to do the same.
Right.
It may put people off. And I think, because I've known you a while, I think there might be some stuff that other people can relate to in their own journey of being self-employed, or the world of work in general. Anyway, so what has become now a tradition on the podcast is to start by asking this question. What did you want to be, or when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a spy. 100%. It was a spy first and an actress second.
Okay.
I don't know why I wanted to be a spy. I just longed to be a spy.
I was concerned that you would say that, because you told me that before, that you longed to be a spy when you were younger. And I guess, why? Did you have any particular attributes that would have made you a good spy?
I don't know. There was like a mystery involved in it, and a bit sort of cloak and dagger and all that kind of thing. It was just, I felt that I could, I don't know, like the intrigue intrigued me.
The intrigue intrigued you.
But then I quickly realised, as I got a bit bigger, that I wasn't really built for being a spy.
Right.
And climbing up the outsides of buildings. Because
that's, in your mind, that's what the responsibilities of a spy would be.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Before James Bond. Well, before
was
I took
it before James
No,
Bond,
it wasn't
though?
Actually, but it was before I took an interest in.
And I guess there weren't any female role models for you to look up to be a spy.
Well, there was the Avengers, wasn't there, with
okay.
Diana Rigg.
Diana Rigg,
That is showing my age, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I remember watching that. Maybe it was reruns.
Yeah.
It had to have been reruns. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you wanted to be a spy and then actress second. When you realised that neither of those dreams were going to come to fruition, was there disappointment attached to that? Or were they just the dreams of an only child trying to...
Probably just the dreams of an only child.
Okay. Just trying to expand that world a little bit. It sounds sad, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
This episode sounds sad before anyone started to listen. Okay, so...
Oh dear.
Because usually that question then links on, because sometimes it's grounded in a bit more reality.
I know, but then I wanted to become an artist. Is that better?
Well, I guess so, yeah. So
I love drawing from a very young age.
Okay.
I like to be able to express myself through paint and drawing. And now you're a ceramicist. And now I'm a ceramicist, yes.
Okay.
Well, it all links, doesn't it?
And yeah, of course it does. And we'll talk about that journey to maybe working in the medium that you work in now.
Okay.
So take us back post disappointment of not being a spy or an actress. We can miss out bits of upbringing, I guess, but your first foray into work, what did that look like?
I did lots of, I say lots, I did a couple of summer jobs with my mum in Barclays Bank in Fenchurch Street, and quickly found out I didn't like working in the bank.
Why?
Well, I'm not great with numbers. I'm I'm quite good with basic arithmetic, but it's on another level. It wasn't the sort of work that I wanted to do really. And then I had various temporary jobs. I worked in an insurance company, because the idea was that I was going to go to college and study art, but then I sort of hit a curveball and decided that I'd met somebody and I would sort of go into the field of work. So I sort of went and tried all these different jobs thinking that I could make a living, but quickly returned back to college to complete my A-levels because I thought that was the sensible thing to do. So I got my A-levels in art and photography and French, I think it was. And then I went back and started working, World of Work. Sorry.
So early on then.
Because I was 18 when I got married the first time. So this is all sort of...
The first time. We don't need to go into all of that. That's all right. That's fine. We can go through that. That's an episode all on its own. How old were you then when you realised, because I don't think I was aware that maybe before you went back to college to study art, that you realised that maybe art was a route that you wanted to go down professionally and turn it into a job. But you're saying it was earlier on.
Yes, yeah. I was going to, after I took O-levels at school, I went and started Havering Technical College. And the idea was that I would do a foundation course for art, which would lead to a university. But people didn't go to university quite as much then as they did when your generation. So it was a bit of a newer thing anyway. But I certainly was enjoying the course, but somehow I left and obviously went to work and then thankfully stepped back and at least took the A-levels.
And the reason you stopped pursuing that journey or that route of going to become an artist was because you met someone, i.e. my dad.
Yes, your dad.
And then was sort of a little bit sidetracked and there was a bit more impetus to go into what I describe as the traditional workspace.
Yeah, that's right. An office job.
Office job, okay. Yeah. Which again, as you've eloquently described, you didn't enjoy.
No. Well, I'd had a go at sort of banking when I was about 15, 16.
Was that a route a lot of people at that time went into?
Yeah, the banks, definitely.
I think a lot of people are probably still there.
Yeah.
that might have started at the same time as you. Yeah. I think financial sector is one that is kind of rife with a bit of institutionalisation.
Yes.
People have been there for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. But when I started looking seriously for a job as such, thinking that we were getting married, then I took a job in a printers of an estate agent's, and then I even worked as an optician's receptionist as well. So I took a variety of jobs before finally finding one at British Telecom. And I worked in the directory department, which sounds incredibly boring, but it was really interesting because you got to talk to people all day and decide on their entries and things. Obviously, it was much more a physical thing.
Like an analogue thing,
yes.
Wasn't it? Rather than the digital. Like,
there were so many phone books.
There's no phone books anymore.
No.
Yeah. Are there phone books anymore? I don't know.
I think, I don't know. I don't know.
But it's all online now.
Yeah, nothing was online then.
So as well as, because I mean, if I'm honest, that does sound boring, and that's not me casting shade on that, because it's horses for courses, isn't it? But what else made that enjoyable? Because BT are still a huge organisation and would have been back then as well.
Yeah.
Beyond the slightly strange, borderline masochistic enjoyment of dealing with a job like that. No offence. Was it your team around you as well? The people you were working with?
Yeah. We were in a small office, and there was a lot of camaraderie and talking, and doesn't sound like I'm a very good employee, does it really?
I think what you're describing is what everyone does when they're working in an office. Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. It was good. It was a mixture of ages as well, which was lovely. And basically, we had a laugh and got our work done as well. Yeah. And flexi time, because that was new then. So
it's still pretty new now, to be honest with you. Yeah. So go and describe what was then, if you don't mind me asking. What decade are we talking about?
I don't mind you asking. Okay. 1980, I started working there.
So that decade's interpretation of flexi time, because this is a really interesting point. At the moment, I keep banging the drum for companies to be able to define what flexible working is. So define flexi time in the 80s.
For instance, you could get in between 8 o'clock in the morning and 9:30, roughly those times, and leave between, say, 4:45 and 4:30, 6 o'clock. So that was what was classed as flexi time.
That's brilliant. Well done, BT. Yeah. I still think a lot of businesses struggle with that now.
And you had to have half hour off for lunch, but you could also take longer as well.
If you took longer, did you basically work extra at the end of the day?
No, you used to have to keep to your regulated time, because you had to work 8 hours, I can't remember, 7.5, 8 hours a day. And you used to have to, you could carry over 11 hours a month owing to the company or them owing you. Yeah. But then after 11 hours, you had to work out and either take days off if you so much in credit.
You'd accrue, like time in lieu, basically.
You had to knuckle down and do longer hours. Yeah.
That's amazing. That I didn't think this conversation was going to go around to what the world of work looked like 30 odd years ago as well. But that's but
it certainly gave you a bit of a freer feeling about being at work.
Because I think, again, for someone that was growing up in the 80s, I was born in 86, so growing up in the 90s really, there's no way that I would have ever thought that a company, especially like a company like BT, would have offered that level, because it's quite flexible. There are companies that don't offer that level of flexibility now, let alone 30 plus years ago. So, okay, because one of the questions, the reason I asked you about team and what made a role like that more bearable is because now, you know, you moved into a self-employed role where you do work on your own, but we'll touch upon that. So you're in a relationship with my dad. You went back to college, and I mean, you went back to college after me and Luke were born as well, didn't you?
Yes, but that was a whole separate time. That was just to do. That was in Hornchurch. That was just to do.
Right, so you went back to college to finish off your A-levels.
A-levels, yes.
And then how long after that did you have me and Luke?
Oh, gosh, about 10 years.
10 years after, okay.
No, not 10 years, 8 years after.
8 years after, okay. And it was after the arrival of me and Luke that you decided to go back to college again?
Yes, because I was on my own, and you had started school, and Luke was of an age where he could join the creche at the college.
So what college did you go to?
Southend.
Southend.
Southend Technical College, I think it was called then. It's obviously not called that anymore.
I remember really well that creche, actually. Not going there, but dropping Luke off.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I just have these it's more like flashbacks, like vivid images of... Did it have Postman Pat? Am I thinking?
I don't know. It was called
Noddy or something.
Jungle Cat's Nursery,
Right,
and it was
shout out to Jungle Cat's Nursery.
Well, I don't know. It's not there now.
Yeah.
But it was
stood the test of time.
State of the art nursery. It was brand new.
Attached to the college.
It was actually in the college.
In the college, yeah.
On the ground floor of the college, and it was amazing.
Okay, so you with Dad, you have me and Luke, and then you and Dad break up.
Yes.
So you're a single parent. What possesses a single parent with very young children at that time to think, I'm going to start following that passion and turn art into a career? What's going through your head at that time?
Well, I suppose it was the realisation that I wanted to rely on myself. I didn't want to rely on anybody else anymore, because I suppose other people have gone through this, obviously, and they'll go through it in the future as well. When you fall in love, you put all your hopes in somebody else. So I wanted it was to make myself more resilient, really. And I wanted to think about what I was good at and what I could be successful at and make a living from. In
your own right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your grandfather, who was wonderful, he helped with childcare, so I could have various part-time jobs, and that was great. But I was also trying at the same time, when this course was advertised, I think it was advertised the year before as well, something like it, and I was trying to get childcare, and I remember trying to approach the local MP for childcare, and them saying to me that they thought what I was doing was admirable, but really I should wait till my children were a bit older. They needed me. And
Wow. And you'd like to think in again, 30 years in the future, that kind of stigma and stereotype of a mother's role has changed, and there's been progress.
Let's hope so.
It's
that
still
was Dr. Michael Clark MP.
Yeah.
Give him a shout out.
Do you think he's still with us?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But I remember having a couple of audiences with him, or surgeries they're called.
Yeah.
No, he's not the Pope.
Definitely not. No.
And him, like being quite, well, I need to go back. I'm good enough to make a living at this, and I want to provide a future for my children.
Okay, which is a hugely commendable thing, both to have the thought that you would reach out to someone and then actually go through with it, and then to be sat in front of them, or whatever way that played out. Yeah, that's an incredibly impressive feat to have actually done that in the first place. What were you hoping the answer would be?
Yes, Lisa, we'll give you funding for you to put your children into the college creche.
Yeah.
And you will be able to study.
And instead you were met with your essentially, to paraphrase, your role is a mum until your kids are old enough and they need you.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, that is...
So I carried on doing my paintings, like dog paintings.
Explain that, put that bit of context. So dog paintings, so people would come to you, I remember this, and commission pet portraits, basically. This was
when while you were babies, I was still doing this. So the local art gallery would, I did a couple of oil paintings out of a dog poster book, because I'm obsessed with dogs, as you know. And and I did a couple of paintings, put them with the art shop, and I got some orders. And then it progressed to people like doing copies of photographs and things, and doing that. So I did that for a while until you were old enough to go to school, and then Luke got funding. Fortunately, Grandad paid for him to go to the college creche.
Right, it's madness, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was the most fantastic experience. That was one of the, if not the best year of my life, really. Everything seemed to gel. You know, you realise that you're actually in the right place in your life.
Which is great, because I guess conversely, a lot of people might start that journey and then maybe feel that there's a lot of overwhelm, a lot of burnout, because you're still a full-time parent as well, a single full-time parent.
Yeah.
You're doing your studies to better yourself. So it's all with the right motivation, the right impetus to set you off on that journey. But the practicalities of parenting, do you think maybe in hindsight you're looking back on it and it's easy to say it's the best year of your life, but I'm assuming there were challenges during the course of that
there were
time.
but the actual feeling that you're in the right environment, you're being able to express yourself, your children are happy, and you know, you seem to be moving forward. And I think that's the thing. If you feel you're stagnating and you're frustrated and you're not sort of being able to move, that's even more of a challenge for me particularly. But I felt that, you know, we were all moving and we were all getting
progress
there. Yeah, living each day at a time, but actually improving our you know, just improving life, really.
Well, you're improving on so many levels, aren't you? Because you're building your knowledge, you're developing professionally and personally in that time as well. You're seeing the means that you're going to be able to generate for your family by, I guess, this continued education as well, and taking those skills out beyond college as well.
I was putting something creative, because obviously I'd only done 2-dimensional work until the time I went to college then and did this ERAC course. It's like earache without the HE on the end.
Thanks for that. I don't think they exist anymore.
No,
and
it doesn't exist.
That's not to sort of date you at all.
No, it's East Anglian Regional Accreditation in Ceramics. I think.
Cool. Wow.
I think that's what it was called.
It's quite specific.
And it had fantastic tutors on the course. Ben Cooper, who sadly is no longer with us, he was one of the main tutors. Liz Cully, his wife, and Steve Kelly, the sculpture teacher, and Sheila, the technician, and they all, it was like having your own, dare I say, great pottery throwdown every day.
Amazing, yeah.
Can you imagine that, if you love clay?
Was someone crying a lot? Was one of the teachers crying? Just every time we looked at this beautiful pottery being created. Yeah.
But there was a real mixture. There was young girls that had just left school and wanted to go into ceramics. Mm-hmm. There was a guy who was absolutely fantastic called Taz, who did body casts and made this fantastic sculpture. I met my best friend Julia there, obviously, as you know.
Was that when you met Julia?
Yeah, that's where I met Julia. And then there was more mature students who had got funding to come on the course as well, and they had their stories. So, and you had quite elderly gentlemen on the course that were doing the most intricate pieces that had already, worked in ceramics, or not worked, but had done it as a creative pastime. And they were all there as well. So you had all these people, all different generations again, mixing and, just enjoying what each other was making, but also with some sort of framework that you were learning skills, you were learning how to different glazes, different clays.
So did you go into that knowing that you were going to use that as a platform to then start working for yourself and being self-employed? Or did you go into that to learn and hone those skills that you knew you had at some level, but you wanted to go and double down on that?
Well, when I first went on the course, I wasn't really that optimistic, although it looked a great course. The idea of this being a vocational course and the fact that you could earn a living from it was the main factor that I wanted to try and learn ceramics. But my previous foray into ceramics had been an evening class where I'd done throwing on the wheel. And that I wasn't particularly keen on that. So I wasn't 100% enthusiastic when I started. But then I realised that there was so much you could do just hand building with clay, just using your hands, no wheel, no will to be seen. Doing it, I automatically was drawn to making things that, it sounds big-headed, but people wanted to buy. So, yeah. So one of the first things I made was a big ceramic panel that one of the KeyMed at the time, they were funding this particular course or part of the college, and on the opening show, the unveiling show of all the work that we'd done, they bought 3 of my pieces. So that was sort of inspiration to carry on.
I think it's fair to say then it wasn't a clear goal for you to start being self-employed. It was more about the course itself, educating yourself,
where would it lead to?
And where it could potentially lead.
Yeah.
And then through this chain of events, you're then sat there being offered money for 3 pieces of your work and then thinking, wait a minute, light bulb moment, I could actually be doing this and making a career out of it.
Yes.
How did you develop from there? So how did you deal with that? How do you deal with people offering you money for your work? Had you already priced it? What was the process?
Well, they always have a sort of idea in mind, because obviously when you're, this wasn't like a big degree show either that you get now, where people are more clued up with money. This was, they had about £1,000 budget, I think.
Right.
And I mean, this is going back.
I was going to say, which at the time is different.
About 30 years, isn't it? It's going back over 30 years. I asked for I suppose I was cheeky. Was I cheeky? I don't know.
Is it cheeky, or is it knowing? Is it having a bit more about you to know that
I
there's
knew
more
that
value?
it was worth what I was asking for.
So that's not cheeky then, is it? That's that's knowing your value. Yeah.
And they bought it and they put it into their reception in their Southend-on-Sea premises. Wow. I don't know if they're still there.
KeyMed are still going. I don't know in what capacity and what that looks like, and maybe those offices don't exist. But KeyMed is an organisation. So if you want to come for round 2, Mum has got some pieces to acquire again. Yeah. Okay. So then that acts as your kind of platform, really, to think, wait a minute, this is not a pipe dream anymore. This is actually a reality. I've made money. I've asked for money that I feel is the right level to value the work that I'm doing. And if I can continue this, this could work.
But I still wanted to continue the skills that I was gaining. But unfortunately, the ERAC course only lasted for that year.
Right.
And then, as with a lot of colleges, it was starting to turn into some sort of academy or university. And so it was changing. So you had to sign up to do a foundation course on the premise that you were going to do a degree course. But obviously that wasn't feasible for me because I had 2 children, so I couldn't have done a degree course, but they still managed to sign me up for the foundation course, where I would be a floating potter, if you like, a floating ceramicist, and I think I was there with Julia and then Linda, my friend, who was also there, and we were just using materials, paying, obviously having the course funded, but it was an open goal, really. And then I stayed there as long as I could, I think for another 2 years, or another year and a half, and then it was, well, what do I do now? Luckily, I don't know what I would have done without my father. He went with me to Barclays Bank and we got a business loan. And
how much was that for? Do you remember?
£5,000, I think it was. I think it was £5,000. And I bought, a kiln would cost over £5,000 now. Or I've still got that kiln. I bought a kiln. And he also obviously built the workshop, got the workshop built in our tiny postage stamp garden.
Yeah, because I was going to say, my experience of our garden growing up was like it makes it sound really dire, and it wasn't at all, but it was like it was basically another house in our back garden that was, you'd go in there and just see all manner of things. I don't know why I'm saying this now, maybe I've never described it before. It was like the barn out of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang almost. It was like any time, day or night, you'd hear banging in there with you trying to shape clay or or doing something in there. The lights would be on and the garden would be pitched back, and the light would be shining out the windows, and you'd see your sort of silhouette. And I think that's when me and Luke started to develop a penchant for making you jump by throwing things at the window. But yeah, it was. I never saw that workshop as anything but this sort of your space, but this hub of like creativity.
Yes.
Even as I became older, I didn't necessarily want to go in there as much and be around your creativity. It was always your space. No, teenage years, I was just an arsehole. But it was your place, and I loved that. I've got fond memories of that.
No, it was good. And we kept guinea pigs in there.
Yeah, I mean, we're going off on a slight tangent now, but it feels like a way off.
We kept guinea pigs in there right at the beginning, didn't we?
Was the kiln not in there then?
No, the kiln wasn't in there yet then.
When you say we kept guinea pigs, I feel like we might be making out like we farmed them or something, but we had pet guinea pigs.
Pet guinea pigs that multiplied because we couldn't sex them properly.
Yeah, 21. That sounds strange as well.
No, yeah, but you put the girls in with the boys, don't you, instead of the girls in separately.
Potted history on the guinea pig situation. We bought Mum a rabbit called Blossom. Blossom, in Mum's estimation, was lonely, so we bought her a guinea pig friend because we read that was good. The guinea pig friend was then bullied, and Blossom used to, excuse my French, beat the shit out of this guinea pig. And then we bought a girlfriend for Rex, the guinea pig, and that's when all hell broke loose. And we went from 2 guinea pigs, I think, to 21 in the space of, 6 months, I reckon? Yeah. Anyway.
We sold them to the pet shop, and then I could buy my kiln. So
there we go. I mean, that is one of the biggest tangents we could have gone off on. But I like it. Guinea pigs. A lot of people would be fans of that. There is someone on my LinkedIn network actually that loves guinea pigs, so maybe this episode would be right up their street. Anyway, the bank loan paid for the workshop, paid for the kiln, paid for basically the materials.
Granddad paid for the workshop.
Okay.
The bank loan paid for all the
hardware.
The hardware, the benches, the sink, and everything else that we put in it after the guinea pigs are gone. And then post
guinea pigs.
So I was there. I had my kiln. I had everything there, but I had no contracts. I had some materials. So how to get contacts? So that was the biggest challenge, and there was no computers then either, so I don't think there was then, was there?
How old was
1995. I mean, there wasn't.
There would have been computers, but not internet or not widely accessible internet. Oh my God! We're making us both sound old now.
I know.
I thought you were at risk. Now I'm dating myself like that.
Yeah. So I wrote on a typewriter.
Did you seriously?
Yeah. I don't know.
I've got Murder, She Wrote vibes going on now. Angela Lansbury sat typing away.
40 or 50 letters, all to various places where I thought would possibly, like swimming pool companies, leisure centres.
How did you know to target those, though? You've come from a course that I guess hasn't told you about.
No.
How to target potential corporate clients. So why did you make the assumption that swimming pool companies could be a target?
Well, I knew that I needed work, so I thought, who would use this material? It's because I'm still passionate about clay, obviously, because clay can be used in any application. I mean, they use it on space rockets, don't they? So
I didn't know that, but
yeah, they do.
Okay. Is that because the heat resistant properties, like resistance, it can? Right. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I sort of wrote these letters extolling the virtues of this fantastic material. And then out of the blue, I got a letter from Riverside Leisure Centre who wanted me to go in there and with the idea of speaking about doing a mural for their swimming pool changing rooms that were just being refurbished. This isn't the last refurbishment that they did a couple of years ago. This is like... Obviously.
For anyone that knows Riverside Leisure Centre, you might care about that. For anyone that doesn't, this is a swimming pool in Chelmsford. So carry on.
And the ice skate.
Don't get me wrong, it's a big thing in this area, but I'm hoping people outside of Essex might listen to this.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe. You never know. I mean, I'm speaking to my mum, so I don't know the reach I'm expecting.
But it was a huge big thing for me. You
of
can
course,
imagine.
yeah. I mean, yeah. That. So how long after the inception of Lisa Hawker as
3 months.
an entity?
3
really?
months. I
that
got
early?
this. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so I was very excited and very determined to get this contract. And happily, unfortunately, I met this lovely man who took me round exactly where everything was going to go, and I had to come across as knowledgeable and obviously experienced. I wasn't telling him that I'd done this like loads of times before. I just had to be knowledgeable in the materials that I was using. But I did not tell him until years later that was my very first commission. And it was 5 meters long by 1.5 meters high. So I remember all the details of it.
Yeah.
And I rolled out, I mean, it was 3 months solid hard work, night and day. And I met the deadline, met all the, I had to do 3 designs, which obviously used my painting skills to do the 3
I remember
designs.
those like boards that you did for that as well. Yeah.
Still got them.
Yeah. Have you really?
Yeah, I have.
Hoarder.
Yeah. Well, you know that. And they chose one, and I was so excited, but I had to try and sort of keep, I suppose, I didn't want to sort of make anybody think that this was the first time I'd done it, and I, come across as an airhead.
Yeah, but I think that is the same for anyone that works for themselves, or even anyone that's in any sort of job where you're trying to win work, especially early on. I remember in recruitment, you had it internally inside you that you tried to suppress that feeling of like wanting to jump up in the air and go yes, or
click
like
your heels,
your first placement, because you want to kind of convey this professionalism, yeah. Which maybe I think sometimes people would like a little bit of rawness with it, but I understand completely why.
Another thing, really, because I joined Business Link as well, and I got some. I didn't say that right at the beginning. I joined one of their startup courses, and I got a small amount of money per week to join that. So I wanted
like a grant or something.
Yeah, because I wanted to try and move it into something that was business oriented, really, because people used to, they still do, think of artists as not really doing any work, because they just assume that artists just do it because they love it.
Yeah, it's I guess it's like a fluffy skill set for a lot of people. Yeah. But I was trying to change people's minds on that, and I would always dress in a suit when I was going for an interview, which was really, artists weren't really doing that, but I felt I had to be businesslike, because I was very serious about what I was doing. I think I remember some of your suits, and also like some of the press releases in newspapers where you were sort of photographed in some of your work as well. You always look very sort of like you were going to work in an office, like you were heading something up. But why not? And if that kind of put you in your own box, so to speak, as well, you were trying to change that reputation that maybe art has.
Yeah, I was trying to do that. I probably wouldn't do that now, but I definitely wouldn't do that now. But I felt that I had to give over this impression to people.
Which is, I guess there's pros and cons to that, aren't they? Or positives and negatives, because in a way it's great that you're kind of forging your own way in that space, but I guess a lot of that was due to the external pressure that you were made to feel, and putting a suit on, I guess is maybe a little bit of a sign that they're kind of not a great outlook that a lot of people had. So putting a suit on, was it driven I'm going to say the patriarchy, but was it driven at all by that feeling that a lot of the people you're probably speaking to were men as well that were signing off on this stuff?
And I wanted to sort of
be taken seriously.
Be taken seriously and come over like, on their terms, I suppose. So it's a soft introduction to art, because for some people it's a big thing to sort of commission something, especially
it's expensive.
And it's expensive,
especially if people don't necessarily value art as a profession and have any understanding of materials as well. It's quite difficult.
And my first commission was I mean, probably think, oh, £5,000. But 30 years ago, £5,000 for first commission, there wasn't any way I was going to mess it up, you know. So,
well, I'd say for someone now setting off in a professional career as an artist, getting a £5,000 commission is a significant amount of money as well. And when you first start, any amount of money is a fairly significant amount of money.
It's probably a bit vulgar to talk about money, isn't it?
No, not really. I'm a recruiter. I talk about money as in what people are looking for every single day. So yeah, I don't think it's vulgar at all. And I think it gives some context, which I think is really important. Yeah. So you start to make money and you start this progression at the same time still raising 2 kids. And I think just to touch upon Grandad, who you've mentioned a couple of times now as well, a running theme for a lot of people I've spoken to in the first however many number of episodes of JobsWorth so far, cite someone in their life that were a bit of a champion or an advocate or a mentor.
Well, but fortunately, hopefully they do, because you need somebody to champion you.
Yeah, and that can be financial support. And there's, I mean, you helped me when I started out the business as well. And I couldn't be here now, nearly 4 years on, without that money that you gave me at the start, because however much you think you got your shit together when you first start out, there are unforeseen things, a pandemic that can obviously put you off your course slightly as well. But I definitely think if you're fortunate enough to have someone in your life that is backing you and championing you and believes in what you're doing, that journey is a hell of a lot easier as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, there's a lot that's happened in between that. So the year that you got, wasn't Serendipity, was it? What was the Riverside piece called? Yeah,
it was Serendipity.
Was it?
Yes.
I thought no, it wasn't. Serendipity was the lady with the long hair that was in her garden for ages.
No, that was Sea Dance too.
Was it?
Yes.
I always thought so. Serendipity was the one that was at Riverside.
It is.
I didn't understand. Oh,
yes,
okay.
And then that's what I was going to just say to you.
You can look these up on Google or actually Mum's website, which we'll put in the notes.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you've come from Surrey down there. You might as well plug your website.
No, however many years later, they actually contacted me about 4 years ago, and 4 or 5 years ago, to do to move the mural from the Riverside changing rooms to another position, because people loved it so much, and they wanted to keep it. So I think it's now in the creche.
Oh, nice.
In their creche.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really lovely.
Which I'm really bowled over the fact that they wanted to keep it, because obviously my selling pitch to everybody when I did this was, this will be a permanent piece of art.
There's a legacy there, isn't there?
Yeah.
So Luke, your son, my brother, is an artist as well. How important, we talked about legacy when I was having the conversation with Luke as well, and one of his proudest things that he's created was selling Ben to the Parliamentary Art Commission, which is just incredible. How important is building this legacy for you? Did you think about legacy when you started out? Or do you now, looking back at quite a really successful career, think about the legacy that you've left in various places around the world? We have.
Yeah. Well, I it's nice to think that by doing something that you really love and being true to yourself, that you've actually inspired your children, and I think that's the legacy, really. And no matter what you two would have done, I'm sure you would have been successful, because you've got that about you as well.
Who knows? I reckon there's a parallel universe somewhere where we're both crackheads or something. I don't know. No, but I mean, going back to my point I was making about everyone I've been speaking to has cited someone in their life. You and Luke were the biggest motivators for me to go it alone, because you've always been a bit of a trendsetter in that way. No one, when I was growing up, no one's mum was working for themselves. Most of my friends at the time, no.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Most of my friends at the time were in 2-parent families as well.
Yes,
so
that was a definite
all of my friends at school, 90% of them, even if I could put a percentage on it, had their dad around or whatever that looked like. So I saw you, maybe I didn't register them when I was younger, but I saw you raising me and Luke, and then I saw you running your own business, and that was incredibly inspiring. And then as I got older, a couple of failed jobs, moved into recruitment, I thought that's what I needed to see. I needed your legacy, and I never thought it couldn't work because I'd seen what you'd done. And then Luke made the move, and I was like, he's younger than me. He can't be doing a better job and go and work for himself. But it made that transition a hell of a lot easier, and it's about the role models that you have around you. And you and Luke have just been like the role models. You started it, I'd argue.
Thank you.
Obviously. But yeah, no, that like you are the people in my life that inspired me to do it, and also you were the financial backer at the start as well, which was helpful.
Actually, you and Luke are the main inspiration for me. So
all right,
I think
it's not point scoring. You don't have to rally that back.
It's only fair, isn't it?
You're reciprocating the compliment. So, with the time that's passed since your first commission, like your first proper commission after setting up, which was Serendipity, you got your $5,000 for that piece of work. How many years have passed since? So 30 years on.
That was 95.
So 28 years on.
Yeah.
28 years on. I mean, talk to us about maybe some of your proudest moments work-wise in that time. Not necessarily what you... It can be pieces that you've created, but maybe more so things that you've achieved beyond just the creation of a thing.
Yeah, it's difficult really, because I was just saying to you before we started, I'm going to have to do like a list of things, because I get so wrapped up in each project. It's very difficult. It's a bit like your children. It's a bit like trying to think which one is the best one.
Which one's the best one? Are we really we're getting into that now? Wow, ladies and gents, Mum's about to say who her favourite son is.
No, but you know when like you're always constantly saying about favourites, it's ridiculous.
It's in the intro to the podcast. Second favourite son. I think the listeners know now.
Anyway, like what's your favourite piece of work? But there's
or son.
The 3 schools project that I did in Southend. I loved doing that.
I remember that well. Yeah.
That was a piece of work at St Mary's School in Boston Avenue. Then there was a piece in Milton Avenue School. Is it Milton Avenue?
For anyone outside of Southend, there were 3 schools.
And then St Michael's in Lee.
Yep.
And I had to do 2 or 3 metre murals. I think 3 metre murals, 2 metre. I can't remember.
In diameter, because they were circular murals, aren't they? Yeah.
All at the same time. And we had to involve all the schools. One was an independent school and the other 2 were state schools. And we had to find a way of mixing all the schools, like the classes, together to do certain elements of it. It was very complicated. You had to design the murals to have some sort of common theme with them as well. And I felt that when they were all finished, I thought that really, I felt really, really pleased with it. I thought it all had they were colourful. They meant something to each of the schools as well. And then obviously there's been loads of other things.
You've done some divisive stuff as well, haven't you? You're not you don't shy away from a bit of controversy in the form of the head of Margaret Thatcher, which you're not a die-hard Tory,
No,
you're not
I'm
a die-hard Thatcherite or whatever you would call it, but you decided after she died to create a bronze bust of her head.
I know. But I looked on. Well, to be fair, I was looking for a challenge to get my teeth into, and I thought what was going on at the current time, and Margaret Thatcher had just died, and the vitriol on social media about her death, about her funeral, about how she was the most evil person in the world. And it was disgusting. And it was 30,000 followers this Facebook page had. I just could not believe it. And I thought they're obviously, I don't know, they just need to see this person as a woman. So that's what I set out to do. I fortunately knew somebody at the Echo who got me old photographs of Margaret Thatcher in all various different poses. And then I accessed some video footage of her. And then I holed myself up in the workshop at the bottom of the garden, because I was still living in Rayleigh then, and spent 4 months going quietly mad, recreating her bust, but without all the... She still had her lovely, well, all her hair, you know. I say lovely hair. No, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like the hair set, but...
You were trying to portray the humanity of this woman that had died, not strip back of the politics and the opinion around maybe what she did, because politics will always evoke those feelings in so many people. We're seeing it now and whatever.
And it brings up so many conversations with me and other people, and you know, that's good, really. You can have a dialogue about it.
You can argue that's what art's all about, can't you, as well? Yeah.
And I mean, I really was pleased with the outcome, and I had it cast in bronze, and it was... Well, obviously, people liked it because the Grantham Museum decided that they would take it and as part of their central display for the year anniversary of her death.
Amazing, yeah.
So, and then it got onto the BBC National News and stuff. So it was great. And then I was subsequently commissioned to make a copy of it for some Thatcherite fans.
So that was a Thatcherite, yeah. So that was something in the States, wasn't it, as well? So when I say the legacy that you've made has gone further afield than the UK, that's an example of it as well.
Yes, and then of course there were the creative projects, but weren't actually visually creative as such, when I got involved in other things like doing creative projects in communities.
Yeah, so this seems to be a running theme with a lot of the things that you see as some of your biggest achievements. The school project and it was around nutrition and lifestyle, wasn't it? I think you did a piece as well.
It was about the Basildon Heritage Trail,
Trail, yeah. Because you've done a lot of work in partnership with the council as well over the years. But
health initiatives as well.
Yeah, so I do remember that, and there wasn't a big connect to art there, but it seems like you get a lot of satisfaction from doing things that affect community.
Yeah.
And I guess in corporate sense, you'd call it corporate social responsibility.
Yes.
You know, having an impact beyond what you do for a job in community. And is that something that's still important to you?
Yeah, it is really. It is important.
Yeah.
I think corporations should be responsible for what impact they're making on communities.
Because this, in some of the work I do around employee value proposition at the moment, what attracts people to go and work for a business, corporate social responsibility, and how business highlights the impact they're making outside of the day-to-day job that they're doing is really important to people. It's a huge amount of satisfaction and worth that people find in that. So in a way, you doing those projects that didn't always sort of tap in specifically to your artistic talent, it was more kind of, I guess, project management skills that you were using in that time as well, wasn't it? And everything in between.
Yeah.
Just going back to the schools project, and you talked about the collaboration with people as well. I think it's interesting because I want people to walk away from this with some direct advice about if they're considering going self-employed. What was it like to go from this team at BT or teams like that and then to be working in quite an insular way? You're siloed, you're holed up 4 months, you referenced with Maggie, working on your own with only your kids throwing tennis balls at a workshop window to keep you company. What was that like mentally for you? Did you find that hard?
Yes, I think you have to be a certain personality to do stuff like that, because I seem to lose track of time like that. So I'm not somebody who has to have company constantly. So I think that's.
Did you develop that skill, or is that an innate thing. No, I mean
that's
it.
an innate.
That's an innate ability. It's the only child thing, isn't it? But yeah,
But I do get. I mean, there are points where you think I've just got to get with some humans.
Yeah. So collaboration is an important thing for you as well. Yeah. Because I thought it was interesting. I remember for every time that you spent doing work in the workshop, which was like in my mind the chitty bang bang scene where Dick Van Dyke closes the door and you don't see him for days while he's working on the car. There were times where you were working with people like Julia, or you're working with people like Fran or Jackie on all these collaborative projects, and seeing you do that.
Yes, and of course, the 3 schools project that I talked about, that involved my lovely friend Fran, who's no longer with us, and Julia and Jackie, and that was fantastic to have a team behind you as well.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Because being self-employed doesn't mean that you have to work alone. You can still have a team of people around you. You just work in a slightly different way. But collaborators...
everyone needs collaborators.
Messers.
Definitely.
Yeah, all these things. You can still have a support network around you as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, what is the one piece of advice you would give someone who's on the fence about being self-employed? And try, I think I count you and Luke as well as some of the small percentage of very fortunate people that had quite a clear path of what they wanted to do and have created something they love to do in the form of art into a money-making endeavour. You know, you've supported your lifestyle and been successful harnessing a talent that you've got.
Yes.
So try and transcend that and think about anyone that could be thinking, so I'm a self-employed recruiter. I don't necessarily love it. It's not a passion of mine. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone that might be listening to this as well. But if someone's on the fence about going self-employed, what is the biggest bit of advice you can give them?
Well, I was going to say, try and be honest with yourself and about your own qualities, and about if you feel that you're the kind of person, if it's quite a solitary thing that you're doing, you've got to build in those meetings with people. You've got to know yourself really, and you've got to try and put an infrastructure around you that actually supports what you're trying to do, and also get some champions as well who actually believe in you, and and try and talk to them, and it's just belief, I suppose. If you really think you've got a chance of doing it, then I think you should just go for it and just what's if you try it and it doesn't work, you just go back to.
Well, is it? Yeah, I mean, that I think for a lot of people, maybe they'll hear that and think, well, that's quite a glib comment to make, that if it doesn't work, you can go back. But when you think about exiting traditional employment, if you do it in the right way, and that's it, to go back to your point of having some thought around it, be honest with yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses?
No, but I meant that if the final push comes, and you think, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? I mean, you've got to give it all you've got. You've got to give it 110%.
Did you just drop the 110% cliche on everyone?
I did.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to have a buzzer, I think. That I just hit with things like that. I like it though. But you're right. You need to commit. You do need to commit.
You need to commit. And it's not easy.
I can't remember if I said this before or whether it was the episode where you and Luke were both in here and I said it. So I can always edit it.
Then?
No, I was about to say, think about regret and ask yourself, if you don't do it, how much will you regret it? And if you do it, what's the better regret to have? I'd rather regret it for doing it and getting it wrong.
That's what I've always.
Than never having done it in the first place.
Do you remember when I had my office in the house and I had all those quotes over the wall?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, that was the front room, was it?
Yeah.
After me and Luke got turfed out of that bedroom. Yeah.
After you went upstairs.
Yeah. After we took over the loft.
Yeah, I had photos and quotes and that all around me. It's a bit cliche now, but
I think a lot of people still do it.
Yeah.
Now it's just a mood board online or something, maybe, than sticking it on.
But I think you've just got to be positive, haven't you, in life?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Mum, thank you so much for that. I don't know if I should. I'm not going to call you Lisa because you are my mum.
Yeah.
So, a closing tradition on this podcast is to be asked a question.
Oh, but I don't normally set them.
You usually ask the question. So, as someone that's here, I thought it might be strange to get you to ask it. So, we've got a guest.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. We've got a guest question asker.
What, you've done this already?
Yeah, I've done it already. Right, okay, so this week's question.
Noah, what's your favourite thing to make?
Oh,
That's Finley. That's my oldest son. He wanted to ask that question. I was talking to him this morning about that.
Oh, Finley.
So Finley asks, what's your... Nana, he says, what's your favourite thing to make?
I love making really big pots.
That's helpful, isn't it?
Yeah. No, like more sculptural pieces, standalone sculptural pieces that you can get really lost in, because I find it quite meditative to work with clay, and that really it sort of helps you lose yourself, I suppose. And the meditation pots that I made some years ago, you know, ones that you put your head in and
oh God, yeah, I do remember that now.
Always has to go one step further, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love making big things,
big statement pieces,
big statement pieces that you can get a surf-worn blade on and just spend hours and hours carving into them, and know that they're going to be there forever.
Yeah. That's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I'll pass that on to Finley. Maybe he'll even listen to this episode one day. I have no idea. He was initially reluctant to ask that question.
Really?
Initially, but then I said he might be famous, and then he jumped straight on. Okay, Mum, that was really lovely. Thank you so much for making the effort to come down again as well. And
It's okay.
Yeah. Bye, Mum. Love you.
Bye. Love you too.
Thanks for listening to JobsWorth. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to like and subscribe. You can stay connected by following me on LinkedIn for more insights on the world of work, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on upcoming episodes. We're already thinking about guests for Season 2, so if there is a particular topic you'd like us to discuss, then please send in your suggestions to hello@jobsworth.com.